Morning, guys. Welcome back. I hope you had a wonderful snow day. I know I just kind of like hung around, did some housework, but it was really, really nice. Actually didn't even open my laptop. I just kept it shut. So, kind of just like checked out. So that was kind of nice. So I'm curious as to know what you guys did on your snow day, which I'm sure a lot of you slept because that usually seems to be the response when I ask people. Today is Wednesday, February 10th, 2021, and students will be able to summarize traits of the Ming Dynasty today. We'll go over the do now, we'll have some notes, and then practice for the remainder of class. Um, Today is a National Umbrella Day, and fortunately, we will not have to use one. So you no need to get it out. But let's go ahead and get started. So you have a do now here um, in your slides. It is a map, and the question is asking you, based on the information on the map, which location represents the easternmost spread of Buddhism from its starting point of expansion. So you not only need to know your directions or how to use a compass rose, but you also need to know how to use your key. All right, so go ahead and pause the video and answer this question now. All right, so if you answered 3, Yungang, I don't want to pronounce it incorrectly, that is correct, number 3. So if you go to number 3 where it says Yungang, so I'm going to find that on the map. Where's my mouse? There we go, right here. So if we look at our key here, I'm trying to figure out, okay, how am I supposed to tell how Buddhism spread? Like, I don't see the word Buddhism on here. I don't, what am I supposed to do here? I see here in the key that a solid black arrow means that that is the direction the religion spread. We don't need to worry about the asterisk. That's just where cave temples are. We don't need to worry about the staggered lines because that's just the trade route that goes across Central Asia, which is the what? Silk Road. Okay, and so we're just worrying about this. So based on the information of the map, which location represents the easternmost spread of Buddhism? Well, we have Korea over here, but there is no like specific city kind of led here. Then we have Japan, which is also east. Yunnan and Chang'an. Chang'an actually goes south. Yunnan is here and makes everything go further east. Now, some people are like, well, Japan and Korea are easternmost. Yeah, but it's spread this way. All right, we have 3 words today. We have a despot, which is a tyrant or dictator who rules in a cruel or aggressive way. And we see some examples of those in the visual, such as Stalin, Hitler, and I believe Kim Jong-un could be incorrect. A tribute is a payment or gift to a more powerful country. This is a way to control foreign relations. So you don't need to type this think lunch money bully thing, but a tribute is kind of like give me your lunch money or I'm going to beat you up kind of a thing. So pay us this fee or we're going to not make your life very easy and possibly come after you. Um, so it was just a way to just control other countries financially and kind of through that bully mentality, pay us or we're coming for you, um, or don't or pay us and we'll keep the peace basically, and we'll kind of leave you alone. We still expect you to do what we say, but for the most part, we'll kind of just leave you alone. A smuggler is a person who trades illegally. So in the Ming Dynasty, this happens to be silver. That picture you have in the visual is actually this kid they caught smuggling iPhones. Um, and so those, he actually, when he got caught, he had 94 iPhones taped to his body, um, trying to smuggle them. So now everyone was, I was asking Mr. Flynn, I said, why on earth would you smuggle iPhones? Well, apparently in the United States, they're relatively inexpensive for us, but in other countries, specifically in Europe and other places like that, iPhones are actually extremely expensive, um, and so they often get smuggled. Oops, no. So I know that smuggling is usually like this huge thing, and kids always want to know more about it. And I find it extremely interesting too, like what's being brought in illegally, what's being smuggled illegally all over the world, because it's obviously still happening today. Now, what is being smuggled is very different, some kind of, well, for the most part, very different than what was, you know, 800 years ago. But the things being smuggled the most today I thought would be interesting. So, human trafficking is obviously one of the biggest um, smuggling businesses out there right now. Basically, human trafficking is slavery. It's just people, I don't want to say it's human beings being transported and sold on the black market. 20 million people are trafficked just for labor purposes. So a lot of people, when they think of human trafficking, they think of like prostitution and things like that, but it's often for forced labor, and other aspects. It's not just like a sexual business. Drugs, obviously, that's the first thing that comes to most people's minds is drugs, obviously, for smuggling. Arms, which is basically missiles, ammunition, firearms, any type of weaponry, is extremely lucrative in being smuggled because you do have to have, if you do own a gun, do have to have it a license, and you do have to have it registered. And a lot of people don't have either of those things, and so arms get smuggled in for different purposes. Sometimes for groups of people. And then exotic animals. Now, this isn't just like exotic animals, it's also their product. Um, and so we also see art smuggled, counterfeits. So, and I'll go more into counterfeits in a minute. Currencies, which is monies, and electronics. So here is, and this is where I always uh-oh. Counterfeit items. So a counterfeit item is basically a fake item. It's something that is labeled as authentic, and it is not. It's actually been copied. And so this chart shows us all the items that are counterfeits, where they're coming from, and where they're ending up. So, um, about 66% and 14% of um, counterfeit items came from China and Hong Kong. And they typically end up in the United States. And then 4% comes from Jordan in the Middle East, but they all typically end up right here in the United States, which makes sense when you kind of think about some of the items that are being counterfeit and sent over. So 24% of those items that are counterfeit are footwear. So that would be if you have a pair of Jordans or something and they're not real, they're not actually Jordans. They're just another shoe that has the Jordan label on it. Consumer electronics, so that's again like the iPhones and things like that are being counterfeit, so they're fakes, they're not actually authentic. Apparel, so that's clothing. The big one, which I'm surprised um, that this isn't higher, is like handbags and wallets, things like that. So if you carry a fake Louis Vuitton or a fake Chanel or a fake Gucci, those are all counterfeits. Those aren't real Gucci bags. Those aren't authentic Louis Vuitton bags. We call them knockoffs. Um, they're knockoff bags, they're not real. And so 8% of those. And then we see some media disks and computer hardware, and then others. And then one thing that I just kind of am always still shocked to think about is that organ smuggling is real. So, say you don't have insurance, but you need a lung transplant, you can buy one on the black market for $150,000 roughly, starting point. So these are all organs that are often smuggled. Human trafficking, humans are often used for this for human trafficking, meaning they're known as organ harvesters, which means they grow organs to then be traded on the black market. And then this is just human slavery today, some numbers and percentages. So 71% of human slaves today are female, 29% are male. Now, this is in 2016, so 40 million people in 2016 were in modern slavery today. And then the darker the country, the higher prevalence of modern slavery. This is just a picture of the Forbidden City, which we'll talk about, and the Olympics was held there when it was in China. And these are the voyages of Zhen He. So we are going to read The Ming Restore Chinese Power. But instead of reading, I actually wanted to kind of go through. I did this with my group on Friday when we were in school, and it seemed to help a lot. So instead of actually just reading this first section together, what I'm going to do is kind of give you the answers, but I want to show you how I found them. So question 1, why might Hong Wu have chosen a name for himself that meant vast leader? So one thing with nonfiction text that is different than fiction is that we're not typically all the time analyzing it. For the most part, we're just trying to find information. And so I don't always suggest close reading. I suggest something called scanning. So I might find Hong Wu's name. And here I see Hong Wu. And why might he choose a name that meant vast leader or vast military? We can see joined the rebellion against the Mongols as a young man and became its leader. So he might have chosen a name for himself that meant vast leader because he wanted people to see himself as an emperor once he took over. So when he named himself emperor and took the name, he's kind of showing people like, hey, I'm in town now, it's my show. Question 2 is what kind of ruler did Hong Wu turn out to be and what does that mean? So I'm going to look around. I see, okay, he took several steps. I don't need to know that. Here he returned to a centralized rule. I see this bright yellow word, despot. Oh my gosh, that's a key word today too. A despot is a tyrant or a dictator. Okay, so that tells me what kind of ruler did Hong Wu turn out to be? He turned out to be a despot. What does that mean? He was a tyrant or a dictator. He trusted no one and made all decisions, large and small, himself. He began to suspect others plotting against him. He formed a secret police. He had 100,000 people arrested and executed for treasons or disloyalty. So I just put he turned out to be a despot because he was very cruel. You know, he had all these people arrested and executed for probably no reason at all. And he was very suspicious. Why would you create a secret police if you weren't suspicious of people? So I actually just did. Oh, I just did that in about 3 minutes, and I didn't read basically 90% of this. I just read my questions and I went back to find the information. So really, if you're spending like an hour and a half on these lessons, you're spending way too much time because you don't need to be doing that. So you're going to go through the rest of those questions for the Ming Dynasty. It's really interesting. And then you want to make sure you submit. You want to read the checklist to make sure you are meeting those expectations so you're getting your full points. And do not forget to fill in your attendance tracker. And with that, I will see you all tomorrow. Thanks and have a wonderful day, guys. Bye.